Birdman,
Hey, Wheels, what's going on, bud?
good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening to you. I'm doing all right.
Fantastic. You know what happened to me today?
What's that?
Gift from heaven. You like a Diet Dr. Pepper, do you?
Love it.
So it must have been the perfect storm, something, where it was just cold enough but not too cold, where it made a perfect slushy in my center console, the one I left in there yesterday in the car.
Nice.
Words can't even explain how awesome that is. They should make that.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if I've ever seen. You've seen the Coke Slurpee, but
Or like the Mountain Dew Code Red Slurpee. Like there were some good soda based, but not a Dr. Pepper one.
no, and especially Diet Dr Pepper. Diet Dr Pepper, whatever is definitely the best diet soda.
We might have to rank these someday, but it's up there. It's definitely worthy of the top four. Diet Orange, Diet Dr. Pepper, some of the Zero products. Diet
yeah, it's all the sweeter ones.
Yeah.
Diet Mountain Dew, another good one.
Unbelievable.
So
Anyway, I digress. How are things down there in Texas? Obviously not cold enough to freeze a Dr. Pepper in your center console, I'm sure.
nah, man, mild. Like mid 60s. It's going well. I love the winter down here. We'll get it. We'll dip below freezing at night, but that's about it.
When does one close a pool down there in Texas? I know you got a pool. When does one close that?
It's open all year round. So it just, this time of year it runs 4 hours a day. And then if it happens to get like close to freezing temperatures, it'll automatically kick on. So because running water doesn't freeze.
So you don't have to winterize it, or there's never a point it was a tarp over it, or
No winterizing. It's like I could go and jump in it right now. Or
God
a small child could like fall in, cost me millions of dollars,
God bless northern Mexico,
Yeah, it's great.
Real quick before we get into it, and welcome to RankEmz, everyone, by the way. It's the winter time here. Everybody knows the drill. We come up with a random topic, we rank them, and kind of see where it goes. Based on like 0% on research, just kind of winging it here, which is the beauty of it. Before we jump into it, Dennis, or Birdman, I was going to say, I'll give you $100 free and clear if you can guess what's in that cup.
All right, is this going to be like a weekly game?
It could be. It could be. What's in that cup?
So I do see a straw. So I don't believe it's a like beer type beverage. I'm gonna say vodka soda.
That'd be a good guess.
Yeah.
Tequila, soda, and a little splash of lemon juice, like
Tequila.
real lemon juice.
Man,
It's one of those.
are you at least?
I didn't have much around kind of nights.
Is it at least a decent tequila, or are you working with like Joaquin's plastic bottle?
No, it was like Espolon or something like that, where it comes in like a little squat little bottle thing. I don't know.
Okay.
It was like I don't really know tequila very well. I just know that like I need to pay more than $20.
Oh yeah.
Once you get above $20, then it's fine.
Yeah.
And also the aluminum cups. I don't know if you've seen these yet. The ball aluminum cups. I ordered some because what's the heartthrob that played Aquaman? Jason Momoa. He had a whole commercial and the whole thing. I was like, those look awesome. So I ordered them up and they're great.
Yeah. I like that. Looks good.
Yeah, perfect. It keeps them very chilly. Let's just leave it at that. Like my chilliness. All right, I'll stop blabbering. What do you got for us? What's happening here?
We're kind of back here, already a few weeks into 2022. It's kind of crazy. But this past week, I was kind of putting up some new curtains in the bedroom, and it really got me thinking about my childhood bedroom. And one thing that was cool that my parents definitely allowed me to do as a kid, within reason, was decorate my own room. Right? Okay. And I can remember one of my favorite posters growing up was Spuds MacKenzie. You remember Spuds MacKenzie? Bud Light.
The Target dog? No.
Same type of dog, yeah. Bull Terrier.
Okay.
But yeah, it was this Spuds MacKenzie poster that I won down the Jersey Shore. I really had no connection to that Bud Light at all. Like at that age, this is probably like 88, 89. So I'm like 6, 7 years old.
Why would you have a connection to a beer at 6 or 7 years old regardless?
I'm saying I didn't, but I still had this poster on my wall.
Okay.
Right? Like my parents allowed me to have a goddamn Bud Light poster on my wall of Spuds MacKenzie. Cool. Maybe we'll get Smitty to kind of put up a picture of Spuds here. But I really did love that dog. I like the ability of kind of putting posters on the wall. So that really kind of got the wheels turning here, and it came up with this particular idea. So growing up, what kind of shit did you have on your walls?
All kinds of stuff, man. Like Sixers stuff,
Okay,
Ninja
sports,
Turtles, a lot of sports stuff. My dad had all kinds of weird, like, I was watching it's fairly recent, the All Madden documentary.
Oh, yeah.
And he had Walker Advantage Muffler was the original sponsor of the Madden mobile. So my dad had all these like cutouts of Madden with this like because he sold a lot of mufflers, back then. So we would get all the stuff. So I had Madden holding mufflers all over. It's going to take me a second to kind of think about it, but that's one that comes to mind.
Yeah. So one that I know you had up that you're probably just not thinking of are sports cars.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Right.
All over the place.
So what we're gonna rank today are 80s and 90s poster sports cars.
Okay,
right?
I'm loving it, man.
So,
what's funny? I still have them, and you're right. I didn't think about it right now, but
yeah.
I have them out in the garage, like ready to be brought into the house. But then, like as a man, your stuff gets kicked back into the garage. So
I got a feeling that's going to stay in the garage and maybe get hung up in the garage.
Right up there, right back there with RoboCop. Like, nope, sorry, it doesn't go with my fall theme.
Just like that Zagorski ball. Remember that one?
Yeah, it's still
that was a
around
nice.
somewhere.
Yeah, but so yeah, that's what we're going to rank today. I'm limiting to 4 choices, and really kind of how I thought of this was the posters themselves, right? So not necessarily the performance value of these cars, but just how they performed on a poster. So limiting today's choices to 4. These are not all specific years, but sometimes they kind of have a range of years. So here's the 4 we're going to look at. Number 1, the Ferrari Testarossa. Number 2, the Lamborghini Countach. Number 3, the Porsche 911. And number 4, the Dodge Viper.
Oh, man.
So I personally had each one of these. I assume you may not have had every single one of these, but this is what we're going to rank, and you kind of get the gist and get the idea of what we're kind of looking to do here.
I have, so just to put it in perspective, I have a lot of like leftovers from my dad's shop. So I have some like muscle car era ones as well.
Yep.
But as a kid with your bunk beds and no brother, this is the kind of stuff that I would have on the walls for sure. So this is a great list.
Yeah. So yeah, let me give you a little bit of background. You can go ahead and kind of play with your list there, kind of figure out how you want to rank these. So number 1 is the Ferrari Testarossa. The Testarossa is one of the largest number-wise production Ferraris of all time, with over 10,000 made during its 3-model run. It was produced from 1984 to 1996. All models were 12-cylinder mid-engine cars. It also has a nice little tie-in to episode 17, being the model of the car that was in the video game Outrun. Testarossa really was an icon of 1980 sports cars. It was featured in Miami Vice, along with other movies from the era. So for this episode, I'd like to focus on kind of the late 80s. The quintessential Testarossa poster car was all red. You kind of see normally it was the coupe rather than, because they actually only made, I think the convertible was only a prototype. I don't think they actually ever produced.
It was in the game for sure, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing those in like real life.
Yeah. Number 2, Lamborghini Countach, another quintessential poster car from the 1980s. Lamborghini Countach was produced from 74 to 1990. It's probably best known for its very unique wedge shape. Like the Testarossa, all Countach models were built with various versions of the Lamborghini V12 engine. The most well-known poster car would have to have been the LP500 and the LP5000, which were produced from 1982 to 1990. This is the more boxy version of the Countach that was definitely all over car posters. Number 3, Porsche 911. So the Porsche 911 has been produced since 1964 and is still being produced today. So the main versions I really remember from when I was a kid was the Porsche 930, produced from 84 to 89, and the Porsche 964 from 89 to 93. So the 930s had a 3.3 liter engine, a turbocharged flat 6 engine. And the 964s had 4 different engines throughout the production run. A 3.3 naturally aspirated, a 3.3 turbo, and then a 3.6 naturally aspirated, and a 3.6 turbo.
All still air-cooled. That's that era.
Yep. The 911 was featured in the 1988 music video "Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car" by Billy Ocean. I don't know if you remember that one, but
yeah. I often tell people like my top 3 favorite oceans from third to first is Pacific, Atlantic, and Billy. Those are my favorite oceans.
It's good, man. He had an awesome white 911 in that video. Definitely an iconic music video, iconic car.
Eargasm, that guy.
Yeah. And finally, the Dodge Viper, right? I'm going to go ahead and give a little love to the U.S. car manufacturers and Dodge specifically. Dodge Viper was manufactured from 91 to 2010 and again from 2013 to 2017. For this episode, I'm really focusing on that first-gen Viper that was produced from 91 to 95. This car was all over car magazines in the early 90s. They kind of had, pre-production models that they were showing. There was a lot of anticipation. And then finally, in January of 92, the Viper RT10 with a V10 engine was released and became a poster favorite. Definitely had cool lines, V10 engine. On the posters, a couple different colors you would normally see, but it was always red, black, white. It's kind of, those are kind of the 3 that I remember. Awesome looking car, though. I really, really like that one. So,
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This is your finest work in a while.
Yeah, I like it.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Even the topic itself, all the way down to the choices. This is gonna make for a very challenging one.
Yeah,
which is what we
also
like.
Kind of think of some other, honorable mentions.
Oh, I have like 5 of them written down already.
Yeah,
I know the drill.
Yeah, I think there's going to be others that I didn't include, but when I think of a poster car where you had the bikini babe laying against it, it's one of those 4 for me.
Absolutely.
Right? So, like I said earlier, I'm kind of ranking these based on the look and the cool factor of the poster itself, more so than the performance of the actual car. A Porsche 911 performs way better than that early Viper, but that's not necessarily going into...
Probably not in a straight line.
It's not being factored in.
Probably not in a straight line.
But I would say overall performance, right?
All right?
I would take a Porsche over a Dodge any day.
One other thing I'm looking at when I look at this list is, like, era specific. So if I was looking at this lens of now versus when I was, like, 8 to 12 or whatever, I don't know what the age range is. I'm looking at this, like, from the era where these were, like, brand new.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
As a kid, like, that mentality of, like, what blew your fucking mind?
Yeah,
when you saw a car and
it's obvious it's way different. What I would say as me now versus me then.
Yeah.
So I'm going with
Agreed.
me then, and maybe we can talk about us now, maybe as we go. But who's leading? Who's leading off? Me.
Hit us with that number 4.
Speaking of the one that's like a complete 180 versus what I would say now versus then. Number 4, Porsche 911. Always loved the car. Arguably the greatest car of all time. One of the greatest cars of all time, bar none. Right? Let's just be serious about that. But at the time, I really wasn't as into them as I am now. And it was a pretty cool era for Porsche 911s. I forget what was that one movie where the Corys. Did the Corys have one?
Oh.
Not License to Drive.
That's what I immediately thought of, but no, it wasn't in License to Drive.
There's one where they get this awesome gray Porsche. I forget what it is, but that was at one time I was like, whoa, that car is... I would like to have one of those one day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Porsche 911, I didn't have the posters necessarily. We weren't like a big German... we had a lot of like muscle cars, so there wasn't a whole lot of like German stuff on the walls, or at least that my dad got me or whatever. But obviously that's way different now. One of the greatest cars of all time. Had to put it 4 only because I don't really have a real connection to it in the, 87 to 91, 92 range. Still an awesome car. Awesome poster too.
Listen, I think you're spot on. Porsche 911 is my number 4.
Is that the first time we've agreed in history of RankEmz?
No, we've agreed on a couple, but like normally our number 4s seem to differ.
Yeah.
It's an awesome poster car. I hate to say it, but like it's a little boring compared to the others. Not that it's a boring car, right? It's got very sexy lines. It looks great. But compared to some of these others, it's just not as radical. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
That's what, especially when you're that age, you're looking for like something completely crazy.
Yes. So I got more into the cars, like you said, kind of as an adult rather than dreaming of a 911 as a kid. Looking back at like that era, you had like those older 911 Targas. We've talked about that a ton of time.
Oof.
Orgasm, right? Like that's what that car is. Oof. It's unbelievable. But when it comes to the poster cars, for me, it's my number 4. And yeah, I think you're spot on with that one.
The black wheels with the silver around the rim, like the surround and the whole thing. My goodness gracious, I'm looking at one right now.
It's great.
If only I had $169,000 for an '87 Porsche.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'd be spending 169. I'd probably get a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, awesome car. The older I get, the more of a
Yes.
like dumb dad I am. Those are awesome. You know what I'm saying? But back then, you're right. It was kind of like, yeah, that's what dad's like, and I was a kid.
Yeah. Yep.
So on that note, this is where it gets real hard.
Yeah.
Real hard.
I do feel like the Porsche was like the outlier of not being like extreme when it came to the styling.
Yeah, no, it was like it's been the same. It's been basically that same shape since forever, right?
Yeah.
Or close to it. Oh God, I'm like flip flopping as we speak, or as I speak. I'm gonna have to go number 3, Ferrari Testarossa.
Okay.
Iconic fins, like it was in Outrun, right? That was the
Yep.
car in Outrun. Awesome looking, man. I would take one today. I mean, granted, you couldn't probably drive it 5 miles without having to hit a mechanic, right? With that V12 from the 80s. Let's be serious, right?
Yeah.
But just the look of it, like no car before or after. I mean, there's been a couple Ferraris that kind of had that fin thing going on, but like, who's ever done that? That's like in the history of vehicles. That's like a very unique feature.
Yeah, and
The side fin. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it, like right along the doors, like it made the car look like it was going 1,000,000 miles an hour when it was standing still.
I've never seen a non-red one.
Yeah, so I believe there were, but everyone that when you think of it, you think of the red.
Absolutely, Outrun,
right.
The whole thing. You get it comes with a blonde girl with her hair flowing behind her, right? Isn't that like a standard option?
$35,000 option, not bad.
Yeah, and they're just hair's flowing the whole time. I'm looking at one right now. God only knows what these things cost. This one's $2.5 million. So
yeah,
clearly there's an aftermarket value for these things. But as a kid, again, radical value. I mean, radical, like it's like just over the top, right? As a kid, you just V12. You didn't even know there was. You don't even know what cylinders were, right? You just knew the higher the better.
Yeah, you didn't know what a V12 meant, but like you're like, oh, that's better than a V6.
That's more than 8. Yeah.
So
exactly.
No, I get you.
And remember the posters too. Just a quick side note. I obviously love this car. It's awesome. I would rank this in the top 10 of all cars of all time, probably, but 3 on this list, just because it's a tough list. But remember, a lot of these posters had like the specs down the side.
Oh yeah.
Where it was like first thing was like horsepower and 0 to 60 and whatever, right? Curb weight. But I used to love, like, I would know like every single car 0 to 60, the whole thing. You would have it memorized as a kid. I still.
I got to show you.
Which is strange.
I got to send you a link after this. So as I was doing this research, I found a company that's producing these cool, like, they're not posters, but they're on metal, and you could get like the evolution of the Countach, the evolution of the Dodge Viper, the evolution of
911.
It was probably the 911, and it just shows like it's almost like hand drawn CAD drawings of each like side profile and how they changed. And like what the different models were. It was definitely cool.
I'll be getting one of those.
At 40, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, this is a legendary all-timer car. Just through my 8-year-old lens, it's number 3.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm right there with you. This is this could be a first here, but. I got Ferrari as my number 3. Awesome poster car, all red. Those gills, like you talked about, like it just also like it screams 1980s, right? You look at that car, and it's almost like you're transported back to that time. Fucking Miami Vice, Outrun.
Huge Miami vibe to this car.
Like it's a quintessential 80s car, and then just for the poster version, like chicks in bikinis, like laying on top of it. You know what I mean? Like awesome car, awesome poster car. It's my number 3. I can't disagree with anything you said there.
It's funny because I didn't even at that age, I didn't care about the chicks in the bikinis laying on it. Right now, in my garage in the man cave or whatever, put them all over the place because it's hilarious and silly and very 80s. Was it not also the car that the slimy guy? So remember Elizabeth Berkley went off from Saved by the Bell and did that movie where she was a stripper?
Yep, Showgirls.
Showgirls.
Man,
Remember
I wish I didn't know that right off the top of my head.
No, I was gonna get it, but yeah, you got it. Remember the slimy guy, like the producer guy that was like she was like completely over the top having sex with in the pool. That was just just terrible acting. I'm pretty sure he had a convertible version of a Testarossa. Did he not? Like I remember there was something.
I don't know if I've ever seen that movie.
Yes, come on, man. You're the friend. You're the friend zone here.
No, definitely have seen that movie. I do not remember what type of car he drove because I think when I probably saw the pool scene, I was just thinking about the pool scene where they were humping. So
yeah, you just saw it was like the fourth and fifth boob you ever saw in your whole life, probably.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's weird that you saw an odd number of them before that.
Happens.
Yeah, it does. Great car. Moving on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's a coin flip if we're going to have our first ever complete agreement right here. And I'm actually going to tell you that I flip-flopped on this one.
Okay.
So I had them reversed maybe 90 seconds ago.
Okay.
Okay, just to be, for the folks at home keeping score. Countach, number 2.
Okay.
That was the 80s poster car for most kids, I think. Completely over the top. Wolf of Wall Street too comes to mind every time. Remember you had that one there. My
God. That's where they were all on those Quaaludes and
he was on Quaaludes and couldn't get home.
Trying to get to the car. Yeah. Yeah.
But I went back and looked at it here. I remember it was just like every kid was like that was the car, right? It was like there's no faster car or whatever. And they were pretty rare too. I don't think they made a whole lot of them.
Yeah, and it had that slanted front pop up headlights and I just when you look at pictures, I've never been beside one in real life. It looks like it's 12 inches off the ground.
I've never seen one with my naked eye, but I'm looking at one here on the internets, and it just looks like I don't know. It looks like futuristic or something. I don't know. It's hard to explain what this thing looks like, but the big wing, the whole thing. I think there was a V12 as well. You said right?
Yep.
This was the car that was the completely unattainable car. That was probably the most expensive brand new car you could buy and whatever.
Lambo doors went up like this. They
don't
go like this. They go like this.
There's no denying how cool. They're called Lambo doors on every other car that has them.
Yep.
Because there's no denying the cool factor of that car. I'm looking at it right now. It's white for whatever reason, but again, these things are probably millions of dollars. It was number 1. I thought better of it. It's now number 2. Clearly one of the most iconic cars of all time. I think they're coming back out with one, if I'm not mistaken.
So, yes, they're re-releasing it. It's not really a ground-up redesign. They're kind of using the existing platform that they have. Yeah, they're using one of them. The way it's been described when I did the research was it's a sheet metal change, and that's about it.
That's kind of lame.
People are kind of pissy about it because they say it's really just a sheet metal change and it's kind of a money grab because they're only going to produce fucking 6 of them or whatever it is, and they're going to charge $1 million a piece.
Yeah, more than that probably. Who knows anymore?
Yeah, so it's going to be a very limited production run, and it's not a new car that they've designed. It's just like I said, a sheet metal redesign. That's the way it was described to me. How
awesome would it feel though to pull up to a parking lot and open the door this way? And how many problems did that door hinge have? Let's be serious. That thing had to have been a nightmare, right?
So you got to figure someone that has a Countach is not driving it around as their daily driver. So the only thing that door hinge has going for it is it's only being used 45 times in its lifetime.
Yeah, but also non-use can sometimes be just as bad as use.
Agreed, but it's not like it's being open, closed, open, closed, open, closed.
Yeah, the kids aren't getting in and out for soccer and stuff.
Yeah, so.
Awesome car, number 2. I flip-flopped, but what do you got?
Yeah, it's not going to happen today. Dodge Viper, number 2 for me.
It was going to happen 90 seconds before I said that.
Yeah. So I'm going to give the US of A some love. Viper is my number 2. That original 92 RT10 was awesome. You had these all-around kind of rounded edges, that huge front end. It housed that, large Dodge V10 engine. All red. Kind of had those triple spoke wheels. Yeah, like it looked like it kind of fucking slithered down that road, right? Like the Viper kind of name, I think, really fit the car. I heard it's a disaster to drive, just like way too much power, and that no one can control it. But like on the posters, I definitely remember reading, whatever car magazines in the like early 1990, where this was, they had some info leak about this coming out. And there was just like a lot of anticipation, and it finally came out. I had one of these posters that I won down at the Jersey Shore as well, just like my Spuds McKenzie poster. Definitely had this on the wall. It was awesome. I just like that it's from the U.S., right? Like it's kind of, you get a little bit of that, American pride. Like we actually did something, even though the car wasn't great. It looked awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's obvious. It's my number one now. So maybe I'll just jump into my thoughts on the Viper here real quick.
Yeah.
Completely revolutionary. I am not a Mopar guy. I'm not a Dodge fan at all. Back then I had the model, the die-cast thing, the one you build, the metal one that had all the functioning parts. Yeah. I made my dad take me to the Philadelphia car show, even though he hates driving in Philadelphia, but like I begged him enough times that he like actually took me to see this car.
Yeah, man.
That's when I first subscribed to Motor Trend. This was 5th grade. Like it's like really like this car here in particular kind of like set off my entire like car, I don't know, enthusiast.
Yeah, it's definitely one that kind of get you in that mind frame, like get you into cars.
8-liter V10 under the hood. When you say it's a large V10, that's, most tractor trailers have a smaller displacement than that. And also drives like a lead sled. Everybody knows that. Yeah. I've never driven one, although I'd love to. Removable top, right? Didn't the original ones have like no AC and no radio? Like it was a pure sports car. Like,
yeah, I don't remember. I definitely know it did not have all of the luxuries, whether it was like AC, whatever. But like, yeah, it was definitely stripped down and bare for sure.
Fairly certain it was 400 horsepower in 1991, which again, semi unheard of at the time, but out of 8 liters, right? You figure that's that's doable, right? Cars are doing more than that back in the 60s. But I think pure and simple, you hear about halo cars, right? Like kind of reinventing a brand. Dodge needed this thing so bad at that time.
Yep.
This and the Ram, right? Because the Ram, what was that movie, Twister? Where like the brand new Ram was in it, right? That saved the whole brand at the time, right? And then they're coming out with neons and a bunch of other bullshit. But this one was on the wall, huge displacement. Even so far to go like the Stealth was pretty cool. Well, like the mini version, right? I think Letterman had one. As a kid, man, this was it for me. I think it was like it's a little bit more modern looking. It was much more rounded than the other cars. Well, except maybe the 911 on this list. I don't know. I'm looking at it right now, man, and I still get kind of like goosebumps. So
yeah. And I particularly, just that first gen version, right? There's something very nostalgic about that. And yeah, I love it. So my neighbor up the road has like a 96.
Really?
Yeah. He's got it in his garage. I've never seen it out. I've only ever seen it when the garage is up. But all blue with, I think, silver stripes. His is just a coupe. Always loved the Viper brand. It's a lot of love for it.
It's a shame that he just leaves it in the garage, though. Like,
I know.
Like every other Saturday or something, man. Just let it rip.
If I bought one of those, it would be my daily driver. I know you're not supposed to do that, but like I think I would do that.
No, you wouldn't.
I think I would. I'd be going to the goddamn food store getting six items like in the Viper.
No. Do the apples come in less than 6 in a bag? Because it doesn't fit in my trunk. I can only fit a 4 bag of apples in my.
Yeah. I think I would. I'm telling you.
No, that's a cruiser, man. That's a Saturday with the missus or your buddy or whatever.
Every day can be a Saturday. Get a Viper.
If you have enough money to buy a Viper, every day probably is a Saturday anyway.
So, yep. So with that, my number one is the Countach. To me, this one is a no-brainer. The Countach feels like it was designed to be on a poster, right? Mm-hmm. It was designed to be looked at, not necessarily driven. Cool-looking, futuristic wedge design. The Lambo doors. It looked like a fighter jet, almost. Like, just with those, like, sharp angles. it looked like it could do 300 miles an hour. Even though it probably, if you look at the stats, like it probably was topping out at 170.
I'm gonna look that up while you're talking while we're here.
It did kind of have many colors, which I like compared to some of these others. You had the red, black, and white, and I can kind of visually picture those in my head. But when it comes to poster cars, there's nothing that I think of. That's definitely the first thing when I thought of this thing. I was like, oh, the Countach. That was number one for me. So never a question, never in doubt. It sucks that we didn't match 4 for 4 here, but
we were about to. We were about to.
I know.
Until my last little curveball. All right, 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. Which there's probably a Kia that can do that now.
Yeah, Tesla blows that away.
Oh, Tesla has like a 2-second, whatever. My last car beat that. My last car was 0 to 60 in 4.6 or something like that. And it was nice, but it wasn't a Countach.
Yeah.
That's incredible. 449 horsepower, but I guess it was the 80s, right? It's all relative.
Yeah.
Yep. I was going to put that number 1, man, just because that was the poster car. One of my honorable mentions might throw you for a little bit of a wrinkle, but that was the poster car. I agree with that.
Yeah.
The Viper just has a special place.
Hit me with some of these honorable mentions. I only have one that I can really think of, but it's a specific poster that I had. And you might mention this one as well, but.
All right, well, I'm going to start with that one, and I think we probably are. It's the Batmobile.
Oh, no, that's a good one, though.
The Michael Keaton Batmobile.
Yeah, real long front. It almost kind of had a similar shape to the Viper, almost. Real long, curved front, yeah.
And it had the specs and everything right there, which were obviously all just, fantasy land, right? But I remember it was like 0 to 60 in like negative seconds or something. I forget what it was. It had the bomb could fall out of the front, had the machine guns. It was made out of carbon fiber. That was probably my, if we're just going off on a tangent, probably my favorite Batmobile. Of all time, I would say. But again, that's probably age specific. I mean, that Christian Bale one, where it was kind of like a truck kind of thing, was cool too, but a little overdone. Anyway, I had the Batmobile poster with the specs, obviously all made up, but that was very, very cool.
Yeah. All right, so here's this one. The DeLorean. So I had a DeLorean poster.
I have one here.
Yeah, gull wing doors. Not related to Back to the Future, but the reason it was popular and I liked it was because of Back to the Future. But yeah, I had a DeLorean poster. And definitely like awesome poster car. But it didn't really fit in with the other 4 here, so I just had that as my honorable mention. And
they were slugs, man. They had like 150 horsepower, 4-cylinder. Yeah. The whole thing that got, because weren't they filming with cocaine in the shipping and the whole thing? It was like a whole drug cover up. Yep. Yeah. That said, I would love to have one, stainless steel.
Yeah.
That's funny because I wrote that one down too. And on that same note, Back to the Future, I had the Marty McFly 85 Toyota pickup poster as well.
That's a good one.
If you go back and look at that movie, man, it's that thing with the roll bars and the whole thing, the KC daylighters and all that.
The lights on top of the roll bar, for sure.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Like, I would take that today.
35-inch wheels, you think?
33, yeah, whatever. They were large. And the Tacoma actually came back out with remember that version they came out with the one car show where they, limited production? Good luck getting one, but how awesome was that?
Yeah. No, that's great.
So this is an awesome list. Those are my honorable mentions. I don't know if you have any more.
No, just the DeLorean. DeLorean was like the only other car poster that I can remember having. I probably had a couple others, but those were kind of my iconic ones that really stuck with me. You know what I'm saying?
Aren't they French? Is that a French car company? I think it is.
It was an American guy. John DeLorean was I don't think he was French.
I don't know.
There's a couple of movies, like dramatic movies, as well as like documentaries that have recently been released on that story. I think Alec Baldwin played John DeLorean in one of the movies.
They were.
I don't think any of them.
They were.
I was going to say I don't think any of the movies. Really, and then shipped here.
I knew they came on a boat because I knew they were like loaded with cocaine or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. This probably requires more research. So we don't have a lot of time left, but
yeah.
Awesome car. Flux capacitor. Flux capacitor.
Love me a flux capacitor. So you like that topic? That one worked for you?
Yeah, most of the time you're kind of a nitwit.
Yeah.
With
I figured this would be
topics.
like right up your alley.
Yeah. Every once in a while you don't fuck up, so that's good.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you taking the time here. Why don't you let the folks at home know how we're going to wrap this up?
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this week on RankEmz. We look forward to being back next Monday with a new RankEmz list. Thanks to all of our followers. Please share our content. Please follow us on all social media apps at RankEmz Podcast. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and the Snapchats. Please smash that like button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And comment whenever you kind of think you want to interact with us. It really does help us in the algorithm. So please make sure you do all that. All links will be listed below by our producer and engineer Smitty. Thanks for all the work he does on the back end. Thanks again to everyone for listening. We'll be back again next week. See you, Wheels.
Peace.
Later.